So we're going to talk about our November TBR today, right? Right? Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Liv, or Olivia if you're new here, and yes, today we are going to be talking about my November TBR. So I have quite the ambitious reading plans in November, but here's the thing. November is holiday, like pre-Christmas season. Things get crazy, the schedule fills up, and I honestly have no idea how much time I will actually have to read some of these books. But as you know, or if you don't know and you're new here, I tend to create just like a mood reading pile of a bunch of books that are high on my radar. And that's what this list is. There is some holiday Christmas books. Yes, we're diving into that. I'm going to be talking about a couple book clubs, the Little Women Readathon, and we've got all sorts of things to talk about today. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the books. The first book I'm going to be picking up in the month of November is for my baby, my book club on Patreon, the Tea Time Society Book Club. We are going to be reading The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I have been chomping at the bit to pick this one up ever since it came out. I am so ecstatic to read this. You guys have no idea. Spells for Forgetting was a book that completely blew up last year, and for some reason I just didn't read it or didn't have the time to. So I am going to be picking this one up first, and if I love it enough, I'll probably pick up Spells for Forgetting right after that. I don't know much about this one, and I'm kind of going into it blind. I just love the cover so much, and if it's a good cover, you guys know I will pick up the book. But the inside says a woman risks everything to end her family's centuries-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love in this mesmerizing novel. So if you've never heard of my book club before, definitely check out my Patreon. In my description below, we have a live discussion every single month, and it's just a great time. You also get other perks as well, so if you've never checked it out before, highly recommend doing so because I know this book could potentially be 5 stars for me. For the next book club I'm going to be participating in, I am going to be joining my friend Kendal's Patreon book club, which if you guys have not checked her Patreon out before, please do. It is all dragon themed, and it is the cutest thing I've ever seen. She always has so many movie nights going on. She does a bi-monthly book club and bi-monthly readathons and just all the different things that you love as a reader. So if you enjoy my Patreon, definitely check out hers. But for the month of November, she had us all pick between dragon themed books, which I'm so excited about. I am so glad Fireborne was chosen. I have had this book since 2019 when it first came out. I've heard nothing but amazing things. The very little I know about it is it's young adult. We have 2 main characters that I think go to this like dragon riding school potentially, and both of them I think are orphaned. They end up possibly falling in love or betraying one another. I don't know if it's like enemies to lovers. I honestly have no idea. This is one that I've never been spoiled for, even though it's been out for I think 4 years at this point. So I'm going into this one also completely blind, but I'm just over the moon excited that I was smart enough to hold on to this book because I knew one day that it would come in handy, and this could also potentially be 5 stars for me. The next books I'm going to be reading for the Little Women Readathon. If you did not know, I'm going to be hosting a readathon with some of my best friends starting November 24th, right after Thanksgiving, going into the Christmas season. We are going to be doing reading sprints and a movie night and just chatting all things Little Women. So if you do not know about that readathon, you can go to my channel, watch the video, and get all of the details there. Each sister represents a reading prompt or stands for a different reading prompt for this readathon, but first I just wanted to say we do have a group read of the book Little Women itself. I am going to be using this as a prompt though for the musical element, which represents Beth, because I don't know if I'm going to get the chance to finish all of this within the week, so I'm probably going to start it a little bit early and just use a prompt for this one. So if you want to read Little Women along with us, we do have a Discord chat where we will be discussing. The next prompt represents Jo, which is just a book about authors or writing, because obviously throughout the story Jo is writing a book, and for this one I chose Juniper Bean Resorts to Murder. Is this cover not the most fall adorable cover you've ever seen? And it reads more of like a cozy mystery, I believe, which you guys know is right up my alley, but I'm just gonna read off some of the back for you because the way this is described sounds so quirky and fun. Juniper Bean has big plans for her writing career. Swoony kisses, sigh-inducing happily ever afters, she's going to write them all. But just one problem, she can't seem to stop killing off her main characters. After accepting that a genre change is in order, Juniper sets out to do some research. What's the best way to carry a dead body? How exactly does one pick a lock? Juniper's going to find out with the unwilling help of her new roommate Aiden. But Juniper's plans go haywire when she stumbles across an actual real-life dead body. And before she knows it, she and Aiden are thrust into the middle of a murder mystery. This sounds phenomenal and so good, and honestly kind of like a hidden gem of a book because I don't see very many people talk about this one. So I have high hopes for this one, and I feel like it just gives off the perfect cozy vibe for Little Women. The next prompt represents the rambunctious Amy, and that is just to read a graphic novel. Obviously she's an artist herself, and for this one I chose Little Witches, which is a Magic in Concord middle grade graphic novel, and this sounds so delightful. It's basically Little Women, but if they were witches. It's obviously also a retelling, so it's not going to be the exact story. The artwork looks very simple and comic-like, but it just looks perfect. You also have some wintry scenes in there, so I think this is going to be the perfect transitional graphic novel. Last but not least, we have the hopeless romantic, which is Meg, and that is just to pick up or read a romance book. It could be a fantasy romance, there could be romance in the graphic novel. However you want to combine or interpret these prompts is totally fine with us. We just wanted to make it super simple and easy. But for this prompt, yes, I did decide to bring out a Christmas book because it is going to be after Thanksgiving, and I chose A December to Remember by Jenny Bayliss. I have not read a Jenny Bayliss before in the past, so I'm very excited about this one, especially because Abby Jimenez said on the back, a charming winter solstice treat with Love Actually vibes and a hint of bohemian magic. 3 bickering half-sisters, 1 unique antiques shop, the coziest holiday season of their lives. In this story, we have the 3 sisters who come to this antique shop after their father has unfortunately passed away. They get there and they try to see what their will is about or what their inheritance is going to be, and he has some things that he wants them to do or fulfill. So I am very interested to see how these sisters end up coming together. It sounds like they don't get along very well, but hopefully they do in the end. And because there's a good sister dynamic and it sounds super sweet and super cozy, you can obviously see why I chose this for the readathon. Now we're gonna get into some of the other books that I'm hoping to get to in between book club and readathon and Christmas reads and just the busy holiday season coming up. So this is definitely a mood reading list because I have quite a few, so I'm gonna go through them pretty quickly. But what I really want to embrace this season is just to slow down as much as possible leading up to Christmas and just read some good cozy fantasy books or some feel good holiday reads. I don't want to like see how many books I can read before the end of the year. I've already met my 100 book goal, so I'm definitely happy about that, but I just want to read some books that feel really cozy. So these next few fantasy books are going to be just that. The first book that I had to mention just briefly because I'm sure you are sick and tired of seeing and hearing about it, but if you're just as excited as I am, Iron Flame comes out this Tuesday. I'm going to be running to Barnes & Noble to see if I can get a copy because apparently my pre-order for it on Amazon isn't coming until Wednesday. I cannot wait that long. I'm also planning to host some reading sprints here on my channel as kind of like a fun release week time where we can all read Iron Flame together. So if you're going to be picking this up like me, definitely join me for some sprints. I think it's going to be a really fun time, but I cannot believe that cliffhanger in the first book. I needed the second book like last year. So I am so excited to finally get my hands on this, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to be reading this as well. The next book that is on my list that does not actually come out until January 2nd of 2024, and I actually just got it in the mail today and knew I had to immediately, after reading the synopsis, add it to my TBR for this month because I can't wait any longer to read this. That is A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. Even though I have not read any Allison Saft books, I am over the moon excited for this. It sounds like the perfect cozy kind of wintry fantasy book. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce her name, but I think it's Neum. She has never let herself long for more. The magic in her blood that lets her stitch emotions and memories changes into fabric is the same magic that will eventually kill her. Determined to spend what little time she has left guaranteeing a better life for her family, Niamh jumps at the chance to design the wardrobe for a royal wedding in the neighboring kingdom of Avaland. This just sounds like such a unique concept of weaving memories and magic into clothing. Of course, there's going to be some romance involved, obviously from the cover. I feel like Allison Saft could be another favorite author of mine, which is why I think I've been holding off to read any of her books, because I'm just waiting for the perfect time to pick her books up, and I feel like getting this book today was a sign that I need to finally do it. Next, I have one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I have not started this yet, I don't know how, and that is Bookshops and Bonedust by Travis Baldree. I feel like a lot of us are really excited for this one as well. It is technically the prequel to Legends and Lattes, but I'm telling you now, if you have never read Legends and Lattes, you need to pick that one up ASAP. It is so cozy. It's essentially about this orc named Viv who starts a coffee shop. There's this mouse here who's like a little baker, and it's just so quintessential small town, like just slow fantasy vibes, but everything you could want in a fantasy book. There's coffee, there's baking, like there's everything in this that I love, and this is such an Olivia book, and I'm so excited to finally have it in my hands. Next is a book that I really wanted to read last year, and according to this book, I actually read like 50 pages of it, and I don't know why in the world I didn't finish it because I was loving it. That is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. This is about a young girl who I think is in like middle grade age. This isn't a middle grade book necessarily, but I believe she's an assistant baker to like a rich family, and there's a body that turns up dead in her kitchen, and she kind of goes on this whole journey of a mystery, and everybody's accusing her, and so obviously she's trying to defend herself. I was really loving this. It was the perfect cozy vibes. There's like this sourdough that was like talking and had human-like characteristics, and it was just the perfect cozy vibe. So I am all about the cozy vibes. I feel like you should just start a cozy counter at this point because I've probably said it at least 50 times. The next book I really wanted to get to last year, but again, don't know why I didn't have the time for it, because now there's the paperback out and I like the paperback version more, but that's okay. I know this book has the potential to be another 5 stars for me. That is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I know I'm going to love and adore this so much, especially because it says a curmudgeonly professor journeys to a small town in the far north to study fairy folklore and discovers dark magic, friendship, and love in this heartwarming and enchanting fantasy. This is absolutely perfect for cozy season. I was hearing a lot of people say that it actually takes place during winter, so I have been saving it for now. This will probably be on every single TBR until I read this, because this is one of those books that I am dying to read, but for some reason just don't make the time for it. The next book that I'm going to be reading very soon, it is part of a trilogy that I have owned for ages, and I don't know why I haven't read from this author yet, because I know I'm going to love it. That is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Her newest book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, I think, just came out a couple weeks ago, and so that has put this once again back on my radar. I've heard this is one you can really fly through, and I do have the audio from my library already, but my friend Kendal says this is her favorite series of all time, and I'm here for it. If you give me a competition, sisters, and circus vibes, that's literally all I need. The next book I had to pick up because everyone and their mother is talking about it. I'm talking literally everyone. I was gonna hold off on this because I haven't heard of this author before. It kind of got popular overnight, but I kind of want to know why. Like, I'm the type of person that gives into the hype, and usually the hype is right, especially with things like Fourth Wing, so I'm hoping that's the case with this one. But I finally picked up Assistant to the Villain. First of all, I love this cover and I love the sprayed edges. It's so much fun, but the back is what really sucked me in. It says, Assistant Wanted. Notorious high-ranking villain seeks loyal, level-headed assistant for unspecified office duties, supporting staff for random mayhem and terror, and other dark things in general. Discretion a must, excellent benefits. This obviously sounds like a quirky, fun, romantasy story. She's an assistant to a villain, but I know nothing about it other than that. I'm going into it completely blind, and I think there's a couple more out in this series these already. I love when there's just quirky, cozy vibes to a fantasy, and this feels like exactly what I want to read right now. I recently read Scritch Scratch by Lindsay Curry, and it really motivated me to want to pick up more middle grade, especially around the winter season. They are just the perfect, heartwarming, comforting books to pick up around this time of year, so I had to choose two. They have been on my TBR for quite some time, so this year needs to be the year because I know I'm gonna love these. The first one is Winter House by Ben Guterson. This one is about an orphan whose aunt and uncle sends her off to some boarding school where I think there ends up being like a magical library. There's puzzles and there's secrets behind this school, and I don't know much other than that, but I love the illustration style in here. This is such an adorable, fun book, and I think it even shows you some of the puzzles so you can even solve them yourself along with the main character. So I'm very excited about this one. I recently saw the second one in the bookstore. I almost bought it and then I was like, wait, I haven't even read the first one yet. So if I love this one, I'm definitely going to be picking up the second. The next book is by one of my all-time favorite middle grade authors, Sophie Anderson. This one is The Girl Who Speaks Bear. I love this UK cover. It's stunning. Apparently the little girl was abandoned in a bear cave when she was at a very young age, and with Sophie's books she always has some type of amazing moral lesson or just a hard-hitting topic in general, so I'm very excited to finally get to this one. The next wintry book I have is a romance book that my friend Kendal said is like her favorite romance of all time now, and I was kind of shook when I heard that because there's a lot of good romance like Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez, but this one is not that. This one is The Simple Wilde by K.A. Tucker. I don't know how I haven't read this yet because it's constantly all over Bookstagram, whether it's wintertime or not. This one does take place in Alaska though, so it's gonna give like those cold wintry vibes to it, and I don't know anything about it other than that, you guys. I'm literally going in blind. If Kendal says it's one of her favorite romances of all time, she knows my taste, she said I would love it, then I trust her and I'm gonna pick it up. Okay, last but not least, I understand this list is very, very long, but I really don't know what I'm in the mood for. I'm in the mood for winter, I'm in the mood for Christmas, I'm in the mood for just fantasy books in general. I don't know what I want to read. So I had to add a couple actual Christmas romances to my list just in case I have the urge to pick it up. December usually gets really busy with content and everything, and so if I can fit in a bunch of romance books early, I'm definitely going to do that. The first one I have is Always in December by Emily Stone. I saw a lot of people sobbing over this book when it first came out. I own another one of her books and I still have not read her first one. Our main character Josie every December actually writes a note to her parents that passed away and puts it in the mailbox, and I think on the way to the mailbox she ends up running into this guy on a bike, and I think there's romance that happens. I feel like this is gonna be a really sad story, but honestly I'm kind of here for that. I'm definitely the type of person that has to have some deep underlying meaning or topics in my romance books to really fall in love with it and be invested with the characters, so I think this could end up being like a new all-time favorite. I'm just predicting that now. I could be wrong, but if I am in the mood to be in my feels at some point before this Christmas season, I'm definitely going to be picking this one up. And last but not least, this book I really wanted to pick up last year because this just looks like the epitome of Olivia, is A Cat Cafe Christmas by Cody Gary. A laugh out loud, opposites attract romance about three of the world's most beloved seas: Christmas, coffee, and cats. I mean, need I say more? Our main character, Kara, is actually a veterinarian herself, and she wants to open a cat cafe, which I don't know if you guys have been to one before, but they are super fun. We used to have one here, but it actually closed down. You could go get coffee and pet cats for as long as you wanted to, so this is kind of the same idea here, but unfortunately her coffee shop is struggling. I'm excited to see how the romance comes into this, but this is the perfect book for a cat lover, and I just needed it in my life. Well friends, that is the end of this very long TBR. I know it's really long. I know I'm not gonna read probably half of these, but it's the thought that counts. I'm just really excited to get into a new season of winter and coziness. I know sometimes winter can be associated with depression and the winter blues just for a lot of us, but I'm really hoping to just embrace this cozy season to the fullest and fill my life with books that bring me a lot of happiness. So I hope you got some recommendations in this video, and I hope you're going to do the same. time. Definitely check out the Little Women Readathon. Like I said, it's the perfect readathon for in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's going to be such a fun time, so definitely check out all the details for that. But thank you so much for stopping by, watching this video, supporting my channel. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.